Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful individuals. It is another epic League Unlock here. And Mark here with you. Beautiful, stunning individuals on a stunning day because we have day one of main event action. There's just a little bit something different, a buzz of magic in the air for the debut day of the World Championship.
Oh, you got that electricity in the air going on, feeling the vibes, everything going on, getting a bit of a opening ceremony type of event going on. And yes, the actual games hitting the riff for the World Championship getting underway, kicking off the Swiss stage.
And we're not going to go fully in order of the day because the schedule left some to be desired. Let's go right to the biggest upset of the day, and that is a former MVP of the LTA Quid who has disappointed on the main stage, turning your boy Knight right back into the dirt as a peasant, because Quid absolutely shows up on the Aurora. Really, everyone on 100 Thieves. River, his early game was absolutely immaculate, and I'm going to guess that Ben has watched less than 2 100 Thieves games for the entire year.
I don't think that we can fully put that into the category where we criticize Ben for not paying enough attention, not putting the time and effort into it. I think it's just more so about how are you finding these 100 Thieves VODs when you're all the way over in China?
Also only knew they were playing them, the day before, so.
That also would factor into that lack of preparation, but I don't think Ben is the only one that didn't have the preparation on the side of BLG into this 100 Thieves team, the way that they were playing, the way that things were started out by River and getting that ball rolling for the team. I don't think they were ready for that type of response from this 100 Thieves squad. Absolutely, I think you should be put on the shadow watch right now because Beishuan is not going to be lasting in the position the way things went in this game.
Yeah, he better be starting the next matchup for BLG because, that was probably the most egregious performance. And listen, again, 100 Thieves played really well, much better than they did in the playoffs, in the LTA. Credit where credit is due. But this was BLG on an off day. This looked like BLG at like 30% of their usual power.
I'd say maybe 25%. This is like when you oversleep, you've missed 3-4 alarms, and you're scrambling to get yourself ready to go out the door for school or work. That type of situation is almost how it looked, the preparation and what you saw from this BLG team. And from the get-go, it was that 100 Thieves game plan, and you got to give credit over it to how they were able to execute it, how they were able to set these things up. Talked about River, talking about Quid, again, about 1080 type of turnaround from the last World's performance that we saw from him, really styling on Knight, of all people. Knight, who was at the top of his form, as we thought, heading into this event. So that is absolutely an impressive one. Give credit to Dokla in the top side, handling Ben. My man has stepped in with almost no type of games this year and is able to step into that highest level of competitive play is impressive. And the second one I want to add in is seeing Caitlyn thrown down game after game after game to start out this day was, certainly one of those type of meta shifts to keep track of and seeing how well she was doing. The answer is just throw down a Ziggs on top of her. Drop all those arcane bombs. She ain't going to have any chance to hit a headshot at that point. Absolutely fantastic from 100 Thieves here. Lackluster from BLG, sure, but give credit to the 100 Thieves for pulling off what an upset.
Yeah, most of FPI's damage, I didn't even see him on the screen. He was 2 screens away poking out that Zig damage. So we rode that 100 Thieves momentum. We said, let's go. Here we go. FlyQuest T1. Thought this was maybe even more likely of an upset to happen. And then you see a Bard come in for Kyria. Guma's got a Zaya, Faker on Tilia, Doran on Cassante, and that's looking close to a T1 Exodia. And unfortunately, despite some good plays out of Whippo's Mordekaiser, also some really bad ones where he was inting a little bit, but this one got out of hand very quickly for T1.
I think the Mordekaiser's, again, watching a lot of playoff baseball right now, it's like a pitcher that comes in and gives you these 6 dazzling, amazing, unbelievable strikeouts. But you've given up 7 home runs to the other side, and that's kind of a problem when you're a squad that can't really put up that offense to keep up when you're giving up home runs like that. that's the way things were going with Whipple, making some good plays, getting some ground back for FlyQuest, but always one of those ones where, well, what's the exit strategy? What do you mean exit strategy? I'm going in, I'm all in, and it's, I'm getting something and I'm getting taken out. And it's going over, and you're creating these situations where T1 then is controlling the map after these fights, after these engages, and continuing to snowball the objectives that they wanted to with this composition. Outside of just the hands check, which I think T1 won on the day. They win the draft, they win everything in this one. A very controlled and comfortable win from them, despite, I think, some creative efforts from FlyQuest to try and get back into the game.
Yeah, and I will say there were, the gold lead was obviously too big at this point, but there were angles where FlyQuest were pushing in team fights, maybe 1 or 2 outplays away from cutting down into this gold lead. They didn't roll over with how rough this game looked early on, and frankly, probably the worst inspired game all year that we've seen, and I think that was a collective effort and goal out of T1 to shut him down.
Yes, and I think that is going to be the game plan here at the event against FlyQuest from a lot of these teams. Part of it is, whatever it is, but people have made enough noise about Inspired, about FlyQuest, and how they can do real damage on the international stage, that you're being treated as a real threat on the international stage. And that means this type of preparation, these type of plans and actions against how you're trying to play. And unfortunately for FlyQuest, you can't really say, oh, I'm sorry, because you played right into it, letting the Bard go over for Kyria when he told you, if you let me get that Bard, Inspired ain't going to hit the Rift. He ain't going to have any type of effect on this game. And you saw that all the way throughout this one. Not only was Bard neutralizing Inspired, but certainly on everybody, felt like there was a little bit of extra fire, a little bit of extra motivation from Kyria to set up these plays, to go and attack FlyQuest and keep that ball rolling for T1.
Yeah, and it looked a bit like a solo queue game for Kyria at times. He was trying to do some flashy plays, trying to emulate that Cloud9 play he had a couple of years ago. Didn't get those eye-popping moments, but still absolutely a dominant force from start to finish. That went as expected, and I think it was expected what the banger of the day was. It was certifiable. It was easy to lock in. We're talking Hanwha Life versus Anyone's Legend. This was far and away the most back and forth. You had gold lead swings both ways of 3,000-4,000 wacky team fights. We get Viper playing a near immaculate Kai'Sa game, and it's still not enough to take down the second seed from the LPL.
Oh my goodness. This is, if you were, worried, concerned, labeling the whole region as frauds after BLG, the champions, fall down to 100 Thieves, I think this is one, counterpunch back for the LPL here. Is Anyone's Legend showing up like this, being able to outlast, throw down with a Hanwha Life squad that is more or less able to get to their game plan, get their squad rolling the way that they wanted to, is absolutely a good sign for the LPL at this event, that this is the form that Anyone's Legend is stepping into the ring with. And you're looking at, when you're talking about how things went in this game, you gotta be looking at one of the mistakes, though, on the side of Hanwha Life. Zeka, no tier coming out of that base on, of all champions, Rise, which I think the only one that might be even more inexcusable would be Cassiopeia, but they're both right side by side in mid lane as far as that importance of the tier, and he gets away with it. No charges built up for later. That is absolutely a critical mistake from him individually.
And obviously adds to the point, makes sense why Viper was the only one doing damage in a lot of these team fights. Yeah. And we also were reminded why Tarzan's, Pantheon's a pretty broken jungle pick these days, but Tarzan in particular, a little bit more broken on it than others, it feels like. But this game was just exchanging individual highlights, stepping out in these specific team fights. And of course, Kael's Dragon Soul Steal, where Viper's trying to solo it, was maybe the cleanest play of the game.
Oh, that's an all chat. After that one, I don't care the language difference. You're popping in there for that type of moment for it. This was fantastic, having this type of heavyweight throwdown early in the event, and one of these ones where, again, maybe not as high profile as Gen.G, as T1, as a champion BLG, But having this type of throwdown here on day one absolutely is going to open these eyeballs to a lot of these teams to say, okay, wait a minute, really readjust and focus what we think is that ultimate tier that will be at this event, to include the likes of Hanwha Life and Anyone's Legend.
It definitely wasn't the banger of the day, was probably the most dominant game of the day, to the surprise of absolutely nobody. The third seed of the LCP matching up against Gen.G, and this wasn't the dominant win that you expect to see in Stomps, but how about Ruler having almost a 2K individual gold lead without a kill? That's pretty dominant.
That's one of those ones where again, you might have someone more inexperienced panic, make an overreaching type of play in those situations going, I need to get myself more of an advantage, more of a clear-cut edge so I know that I'm having this impact on the game. You see the veteran Ruler, he knows it's all adding up. It's all the gravy train for Gen.G. If he keeps this type of play up, keeps this pace up where he is picking up the CS, picking up that gold and stacking it all up, investing it up in that damage, and being able to utilize it on a champion like Lucian with his mobility, it was over and done for Gen.G from that point on.
And I think the best, capsule of this game is just, Karsa gets first blood on Keen, and you see him on cam, he's clapping, he's pumped up, and then you look, well, the gold lead is even, my man. It felt like anytime PSG did manage to get a kill somewhere, they had to put so many resources to get it, that Gen.G was getting an equal or usually above trade somewhere else on the map, and that's what they've been doing all year.
It's the quiet sleeper hold from Gen.G. Nothing spectacular, no fireworks really going on, but everything under the radar. Everything is business as usual to the point of moving towards a W in the win column for them, moving on through and keeping it, again, just clean business from this Gen.G right now is all you want to see from them as one of these top 4 frontrunners at the event.
The LTA at least has that 100 Thieves upset, gotta keep the copium and hopium going forward at this event. It's a little different for EU on day one. Unfortunately, 0-3 on the day for their 3 squads. The closest and most probably should have won the game comes from Movistar Koi and KT Rolster. We had the Otacon throw, and it's less a huge throw to me, and obviously it's a great shockwave by BDD coupled on top of Perfect's Rumble ulti, and it's after this, right? Because Elyoya gets a fantastic Otacon steal, and Koi after that still has a gold lead. They just need to be saying, chill guys, we're fine, we had a bad fight, it's all right, we're still in the driver's seat, but they seem so desperate and panicked after that fight.
They were rattled from that fight, from what it went on, and feeling like they should have been able to clean and through that one, and how surprised they were on being baited in to the exact perfect Orianna shockwave from BDD, dealing massive damage to almost all members that were important in that fight around Otacon before, yes, Elyoya is able to steal it, able to stabilize, minimize the cost to this Movistar Koi team. But the panic, the rattle was already there in the squad, feeling like, okay, we need to really jump back ahead, get that control of this game again. Where it was like, guys, take that one step back, reset, re-roll that dice, and you're still in an advantage spot. They take the chance of trying to force the hand of KT, and every single time they force that fight, force that engage, you're leaving your carry behind not in that position where they're able to follow up, able to be protected from the counter engage then from KT, because every single one of these fights, it's instantly happening from the side of Movistar Koi, and then instantly it's Super, our carry is in trouble or is dead, and the fight's over at that point onwards, throwing away the early advantage built up from this Koi squad.
Yeah, I mean, the Kaza Xinjiao was on Supa every team fight, and yeah, Jojo and Elyoya were on the same page of diving the backline, getting onto Docdom, but especially these last couple fights, they're barely breaking through a shield. Like, what is a Galio and Jarvan doing? There's just no damage to kill it, so there was a disconnect there between Koi, diving and peeling, what was going on there. But the switch on Docdom was so far behind in this game. Supa had a massive gold lead, and then it completely switched, and by the end, Doctom alone had a 3K gold lead.
That's what happens after everything that goes down by the Otacon fight and where Elyoya does steal it. And then pretty much again, immediately afterwards, the next two fights, which are engaged and opted into from the side of Movistar Koi, you do find Supa being left alone, getting that damage thrown from all sides on KT onto him, where it is not able to have that effect. And it is Doc Dom catching back up, building up against that gold gap, and to the point where then there was no gold gap in this one, and it was KT finding their way to the finish line. An unfortunate one for Movistar Koi. We had the full, K-drill type of performance from Lore on the broadcast with the Koi jersey flipped into the KT one and everything else, but it is KT coming through on the day with that win.
And you thought on paper, again, G2, probably favorites in their top esports matchup because of how dominant G2 has been domestically, but we forgot about Kanavi's Trundle. I've never seen someone make Trundle such a terrifying pick. I've seen this dude get pentakills. He's just completely forgotten about in some of these fights and taking it over. And despite a really good early game from him, it still felt like G2 was kind of in this until, again, Otacon. But this time, it's not even the neutral objective. It's the real raid boss in 369's Aatrox.
Oh, G2 and another Aatrox from the LPL
Added
moment.
to the music video.
Oh, it can't keep happening like this. Yes, unfortunate for G2 that they had just finally kind of gotten that foothold to be in a decent enough position to make that push back in the game, only to just get absolutely bopped right back down by that Aatrox. This was certainly one of those matches where, yes, you did think that G2 could have had a chance in this one, and even with the draft and how things play out. But you're right to signify that Kanavi is that difference maker on, of all things, a Trundle, a pick that you're not expecting really for him to play. Never mind have that type of utility on, but it really just shows that, again, you can put him on something more tanky, more, providing down whatever type of angle. He's still a killer at heart. When you go down to it, Kanavi is going to play how Kanavi plays, and he absolutely did that to a disgusting degree on this Trundle in this game.
And, similar to the FlyQuest T1 set, even more so in this one, though, Caps finds this fantastic Azir engage coupled with Labrov, but it's too little too late. You're already down like 7,000 gold at that point. If that play gets made and the gold lead's only 2,000-3,000, G2 might be back in the game.
And it's one of those ones where how do you want to take it, right? Do you want to take it glass half full, glass half empty when you're looking at something like that? Because you can view it in that glass half full that the plays are there. You just need to make sure that we're not in such disadvantaged positions when we're able to pull off these plays or desperate enough to actually go on to these engages or, calculate it through whatever, but it's not coming through. Or do you go glass half empty and you're going, well, man, we're first of all not good enough to be in a position to matter. Secondly, even when we throw our best effort at it, it's not enough at the end of it, not considering that, well, you're in this position and blah, 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 blah. So G2, I think this is one of those ones where you can find some positives from this one, but more or less, you got to have that quick reset, hit that reset button, and go into the next day, which thankfully for G2 and for the rest of the LEC, you're at least guaranteed one win, right, guys?
Yeah. Had to wait one single day to get our first Civil War, and that is, yes, G2 versus Koi, going to be matching up in that 0-1. Still best of ones in the day two action, but G2 has run EU for at least split 3. They didn't even lose a series, so obviously going to be favorites there, but things just feel different when there's domestic matchups internationally.
It is going to feel different, and I bet this one will be different than the last time around, because this is going to be, and it has to be, from Movistar Koi when you're looking at this type of matchup, and for them at Worlds, especially after how things played out with KT, you have to find a way to capitalize on this one against your region mate in G2. If you're on that side of Movistar Koi looking for that level up from that finals appearance against G2, that's what you got to be hoping for if you are a Koi fan.
it's a lot rougher for a Fnatic squad that just kind of got manhandled by CFO, and now they're going to be drawing an angry 0-1 Billy that you better believe is going to be starting Shadow in the jungle.
Which, number one, welcome back to the international stage. Doggo showing up big time for CFO in this matchup against Fnatic. I think there are other things that you can obviously talk about. One of them for sure is going to be looking at then, well, what is the next step for CFO in that top lane, right? As far as rest drivers going and who is going to be.
If drivers getting solo kills on Sion on multiple solo laners,
Yeah, I think part of that is individually on him, and part of that is on how Oscurin was playing for Fnatic on the day. Absolutely not the star performance that you needed from him on the day. So when you're looking at CFO, it's also going to be about Hong Q, who I think was also impressive today. Once again, a lot of attention, a lot of game plan and preparation put towards him from Fnatic, still able to find a way to be successful, to have an impact on this game. Absolutely one of the youngest players that we are looking at with such hopeful eyes at this event.
Other big matchups, lots of big matchups for day 2. Must win for FlyQuest in the LTA playoff rematch against Vivo Keed Star. And also got AL versus Gen.G. Little rematch from some other international events over the year.
I think there's a lot weighing on that Anyone's Legend Gen.G matchup, more so than a lot of people might give it credit for, as far as where it is. Both teams 1-0. You're feeling somewhat safe here. You've got that edge. I think that this is absolutely a critical one for both of these teams to come away with. One, Gen.G, to put that resounding answer that it's not just PSG, it's an Anyone's Legend tier that we can take down here in this early part of Swiss stage won't matter. And for Anyone's Legend, it's that absolutely, hey, ding, 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 wake up and look at me type of alarm when you say we've taken down a Hanwha Life and we've taken down a Gen.G from the LCK. That would absolutely be mega.
Yeah, they would immediately probably climb into that, okay, you're the best LPL team again, which again, we saw internationally, we saw throughout all of Split 2, so wouldn't be a surprise to any if they do reach that. But again, doing it against Gen.G is a little bit of a different beast, but we'll be back for all that sweet day 2 action. But that is all today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark with you. Absolute beauties. Thanks so much for hanging out. We'll catch you on that flippity flip.